War has always been a crucible where humanity's greatest triumphs and darkest deeds are forged. Behind the battle lines, in the shadows where strategy and survival intersect, countless secrets are buried. The United States, with its extensive military history, is no stranger to these hidden truths. From clandestine espionage missions and unthinkable crimes to chilling mysteries and acts of deception, the stories of wartime are layered with complexity and intrigue. This narrative delves into some of the most obscure, unsettling, and enigmatic moments of America's involvement in war, moments that reveal the fragile boundaries between morality and necessity, loyalty and betrayal, truth and illusion. The story begins during the Revolutionary War, when espionage became a key weapon in the fight for independence. George Washington, often hailed as the father of the nation, also became the father of American espionage. The Culper Ring, a secret network of spies organized under his direction, played a crucial role in gathering intelligence on British movements. The identities of some members of this network remain a mystery to this day, shrouded in secrecy. One of the most enigmatic figures was Agent 355, a female spy whose real identity has never been definitively uncovered. Her coded messages helped thwart British plans, but her ultimate fate remains unknown, a haunting reminder of the sacrifices made in the shadows of war. Fast forward to the Civil War, and the dark secrets of espionage and crime took on new forms. Both Union and Confederate forces employed spies, saboteurs, and double agents. Stories of betrayal and deception abounded, none more chilling than the tale of Belle Boyd, a Confederate spy who charmed Union officers into revealing critical information. Her daring exploits and ability to manipulate those around her made her both a hero to the South and a figure of suspicion and intrigue. Meanwhile, on the Union side, the Pinkerton Detective Agency, under Alan Pinkerton, conducted covert operations that blurred the lines between law enforcement and wartime strategy. The Civil War also brought with it crimes against humanity that would later be examined under the harsh lens of history. The treatment of prisoners of war, particularly in places like Andersonville Prison in Georgia, exposed the cruelty and inhumanity that war often conceals. Thousands of Union soldiers perished in the squalid conditions of the prison, their suffering largely ignored until after the war's conclusion. The horrors of Andersonville raised questions about the ethical limits of wartime conduct, questions that would resurface in every subsequent conflict. As the United States entered the global stage during World War I, the scope of wartime secrets expanded. Espionage became an international game, and America's entrance into the war brought its own share of intrigue. The Zimmermann telegram, a secret communication from Germany to Mexico, was intercepted by British intelligence and shared with the United States. The telegram proposed a military alliance between Germany and Mexico against the United States, promising the return of territories like Texas and Arizona to Mexico. Its revelation helped propel America into the war, but the story behind the interception and dissemination of the telegram remains a fascinating tale of code-breaking, political maneuvering, and subterfuge. World War II, however, marked the zenith of espionage, crime, and mystery in America's military history. The Office of Strategic Services, OSS, the precursor to the CIA, became the epicenter of covert operations. Spies infiltrated enemy lines, conducted sabotage missions, and engaged in psychological warfare. One of the most intriguing figures of this era was Virginia Hall, an American operative working in Nazi-occupied France. Known as the Limping Lady, due to her wooden leg, Hall became one of the most effective spies of the war, coordinating resistance efforts and evading capture despite being on the Gestapo's most wanted list. Her bravery and cunning became the stuff of legend, but much of her work remained classified for decades, adding an air of mystery to her remarkable story. World War II also saw the emergence of darker secrets, particularly surrounding the Manhattan Project. While the development of the atomic bomb was one of the most significant scientific achievements in history, it was also one of the most closely guarded secrets of the war. Thousands of scientists, military personnel, and civilians worked on the project, often without knowing the full scope of their efforts. The ethical implications of unleashing such a destructive force weighed heavily on many involved, particularly after the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The secrecy surrounding the Manhattan Project extended beyond the war, as the United States grappled with the consequences of its new status as a nuclear power. The Cold War era ushered in a new dimension of espionage and mystery, as America found itself locked in a shadowy struggle with the Soviet Union. The CIA emerged as a dominant force in covert operations, orchestrating coups, conducting surveillance, and engaging in psychological warfare. One of the most infamous episodes of this period was the MKUltra program, a top-secret CIA project focused on mind control and experimental psychology. Using unwitting subjects, the program explored the effects of drugs like LSD, hypnosis, and sensory deprivation. The full extent of Ultra's activities remains murky, but its revelations in the 1970s shocked the American public and raised serious ethical questions about the government's use of power. During the Vietnam War, the dark secrets of war reached new depths. The My Lai massacre, in which American soldiers killed hundreds of unarmed Vietnamese civilians, became a symbol of the moral ambiguities and atrocities of the conflict. Whistleblowers like Ron Ridenour and investigative journalists exposed the massacre, forcing the United States to confront the realities of its actions in Vietnam. At the same time, covert operations like the CIA's Phoenix program targeted suspected Viet Cong operatives through assassination, interrogation, and psychological warfare, further blurring the lines between necessity and morality. The Persian Gulf War and the conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan brought their own share of mysteries and controversies. The search for weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, which became the primary justification for the 2003 invasion, turned into one of the most contentious episodes in recent history. The failure to find such weapons raised questions about intelligence manipulation, political agendas, and the true motives behind the war. Meanwhile, the use of enhanced interrogation techniques, or torture, at places like Guantanamo Bay and Abu Ghraib prison revealed the darker side of America's counterterrorism efforts, sparking debates about human rights and the rule of law. Throughout these conflicts, the stories of individual bravery and sacrifice stand in stark contrast to the darker aspects of war. Soldiers, intelligence officers, and civilians have often acted with incredible courage and integrity, even in the face of unimaginable challenges. Their stories remind us that amidst the chaos and secrecy of war, the human spirit endures. The dark secrets of war are not merely relics of the past, they continue to shape the present and future. As new technologies, like artificial intelligence and cyber warfare emerge, the potential for deception, espionage, and ethical dilemmas grows ever larger. The lessons of history remind us of the importance of vigilance, transparency, and accountability in navigating the complexities of modern conflict. Ultimately, the story of America's dark wartime secrets is one of contrasts, between heroism and betrayal, progress and destruction, hope and despair. It is a story that demands to be remembered, not only for the sake of history, but for the lessons it offers about the enduring costs of war. In the shadows where strategy and survival intersect, humanity's greatest strengths and weaknesses are laid bare, revealing truths that are as unsettling as they are illuminating. The story of America's dark wartime secrets is a continuous thread, woven through the country's history and punctuated by episodes that challenge our understanding of morality, power, and human nature. As we delve deeper into these shadowy tales, it becomes clear that the interplay of deception, courage, and intrigue has not only shaped the outcomes of conflicts, but also left indelible marks on the nation's identity and global legacy. One of the lesser-known, but equally compelling chapters in the realm of wartime secrets revolves around the complex web of relationships between America and its allies during World War II. While the Allied powers shared a common goal of defeating the Axis, their wartime collaborations were often fraught with tension, suspicion, and secret agendas. The case of Operation Fortitude, a massive deception campaign orchestrated by the Allies to mislead the Germans about the location of the D-Day invasion, exemplifies the delicate balance of trust and manipulation. Operation Fortitude relied on an intricate network of double agents, fake radio transmissions, and deceptive military maneuvers to convince the Germans that the invasion would occur at Pas-de-Calais rather than Normandy. Among the most fascinating figures involved was Juan Pujol Garcia, codenamed Garbo, by the Allies. Pujol, a Spaniard, managed to infiltrate German intelligence while secretly working for the British. Through carefully crafted misinformation, he played a critical role in ensuring the success of the Normandy invasion. Pujol's actions highlight the extraordinary lengths to which nations will go to maintain the element of surprise, but they also underscore the ethical dilemmas inherent in such deception. As the war progressed, the relationships between the Allies themselves came under strain. The Yalta Conference, held in 1945, revealed deep divisions between the United States, the Soviet Union, and the United Kingdom. While ostensibly focused on planning for post-war Europe, the conference was marked by secret deals and conflicting visions for the future. The seeds of the Cold War were sown in these clandestine negotiations, as the United States and the Soviet Union began to view each other more as rivals than allies. The agreements made at Yalta, some of which remained classified for decades, would have far-reaching consequences, shaping the geopolitical landscape of the second half of the 20th century. The Cold War itself became a theater for some of the most chilling and enigmatic wartime secrets in American history. The arms race and ideological conflict between the United States and the Soviet Union created an environment of paranoia and subterfuge, where espionage and covert operations became standard tools of statecraft. The CIA, in particular, emerged as a dominant force in this shadow war, conducting operations that ranged from regime change to psychological warfare. One of the most infamous episodes of the Cold War was the overthrow of Iran's democratically elected Prime Minister, Mohammad Mossadegh, in 1953. Codenamed Operation Ajax, this covert mission was carried out by the CIA in collaboration with British intelligence. The operation aimed to protect Western oil interests and counter perceived Soviet influence in the region. Through a combination of propaganda, bribery, and orchestrated protests, the CIA successfully ousted Mossadegh and installed Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi as a pro-Western autocrat. While the immediate objective was achieved, the long-term consequences were dire, as the operation fueled anti-American sentiment in Iran and contributed to the 1979 Iranian Revolution. Another unsettling chapter of Cold War history involves the CIA's covert biological and chemical weapons testing on American citizens. Programs like MKUltra, which aimed to develop mind control techniques through the use of drugs like LSD, exposed the darker side of America's pursuit of dominance. Many of the program's experiments were conducted without the informed consent of participants, leading to devastating psychological and physical consequences. The secrecy surrounding MKUltra persisted for years, and when the program was finally exposed in the 1970s, it sparked outrage and a reevaluation of the ethical boundaries of government power. The Cold War also brought with it a wave of mysterious deaths and disappearances that remain unresolved to this day. One such case is that of Frank Olson, a scientist who worked on biological weapons for the U.S. Army. In 1953, Olson fell to his death from a New York City hotel window under circumstances that have been the subject of extensive investigation and speculation. While the official explanation was suicide, Evidence later emerged suggesting that Olson may have been murdered due to his knowledge of classified programs. His story has become emblematic of the murky intersection of science, secrecy, and national security during the Cold War. As the Cold War gave way to more contemporary conflicts, America's dark wartime secrets continued to evolve. The Gulf War of the early 1990s, often remembered for its swift military success, was accompanied by a series of controversies and mysteries. The phenomenon of Gulf War syndrome, a debilitating condition affecting thousands of veterans, remains a source of debate and investigation. While some researchers have linked the syndrome to exposure to chemical weapons or experimental vaccines, the U.S. government has faced criticism for its lack of transparency and accountability in addressing the issue. In the aftermath of the September 11, 2001 attacks, the United States entered a new era of war, marked by the War on Terror and the invasions of Afghanistan and Iraq. These conflicts brought with them their own share of dark secrets and ethical dilemmas. The use of enhanced interrogation techniques, widely regarded as torture, at sites like Guantanamo Bay and CIA black sites, raised profound questions about the limits of power in the name of security. Whistleblowers like Edward Snowden and Chelsea Manning exposed classified information that revealed the extent of government surveillance and military misconduct, sparking debates about privacy, accountability, and the balance between liberty and security. One of the most controversial aspects of the War on Terror has been the use of drone strikes to target suspected terrorists. While proponents argue that drones offer a precise and effective means of neutralizing threats, critics point to the high number of civilian casualties and the lack of transparency surrounding the program. The secrecy of the drone program has fueled concerns about the erosion of accountability in modern warfare, as decisions to kill are often made behind closed doors, with little oversight or public scrutiny. As the United States navigates the complexities of modern conflict, the lessons of its dark wartime secrets remain as relevant as ever. History has shown that the pursuit of power and security often comes at a cost, not only to those directly involved but also to the principles and values that define a nation. The stories of espionage, crime, and mystery that has shaped America's military history serve as a reminder of the importance of vigilance, transparency, and ethical decision-making in the face of extraordinary challenges. At the heart of these stories lies a fundamental tension between necessity and morality. In times of war, the pressure to achieve strategic objectives can lead to decisions that conflict with ethical norms and human rights. The challenge lies in finding a balance that upholds the principles of justice and accountability, even in the most trying circumstances. The dark secrets of America's wartime history are not merely tales of the past. They are a reflection of the enduring struggle to reconcile power with responsibility in an uncertain world. As we look to the future, it is crucial to remember the lessons of these hidden chapters in history. The stories of bravery and betrayal, innovation and exploitation, hope and despair, are a testament to the complexity of human nature and the choices we make in the face of adversity. By confronting these stories with honesty and humility, we can strive to build a world that honors the sacrifices of the past while seeking to prevent the mistakes of the future. The journey through America's dark wartime secrets does not merely end with the uncovering of known events. In the shadowed corridors of history, countless tales remain untold, obscured by classified documents, lost evidence, or the deliberate concealment of truths. Exploring these concealed narratives reveals how deeply intertwined deception, espionage, and ethics are with the conduct of war, and how the pursuit of power has shaped not only battlefields, but also societal values and international relations. As the story continues, we delve further into the enduring legacy and evolving nature of these secrets. The journey through America's dark wartime secrets does not merely end with the uncovering of known events. In the shadowed corridors of history, countless tales remain untold, obscured by classified documents, lost evidence, or the deliberate concealment of truths. Exploring these concealed narratives reveals how deeply intertwined deception, espionage, and ethics are with the conduct of war, and how the pursuit of power has shaped not only battlefields, but also societal values and international relations. As the story continues, we delve further into the enduring legacy and evolving nature of these secrets. The Vietnam War remains one of the most polarizing and complex conflicts in U.S. history. While the My Lai massacre and the Pentagon Papers have been extensively documented, other dark secrets from that era are less widely known, but no less impactful. The Phoenix program, for instance, aimed to dismantle the Viet Cong's infrastructure through a combination of targeted assassinations, psychological warfare, and interrogation techniques. While proponents of the program hailed its effectiveness in disrupting enemy operations, critics argued that it crossed ethical boundaries, with many civilian casualties and accusations of war crimes tarnishing its legacy. The Gulf of Tonkin incident, often cited as the catalyst for America's deepening involvement in Vietnam, has been re-examined over the decades. The official narrative suggested that North Vietnamese forces attacked U.S. ships, justifying military escalation. However, declassified documents and subsequent investigations have cast doubt on the incident's authenticity, revealing that much of the intelligence used to justify escalation was either misrepresented or outright fabricated. This revelation further eroded public trust in government transparency and highlighted the use of misinformation as a tool to shape public opinion and policy. As the Cold War raged, psychological operations, PSYOPs, became a key weapon in the U.S. military's arsenal. These operations aimed to influence, disrupt, and manipulate both enemy forces and civilian populations. While the strategic value of PSYOPs is undeniable, their ethical implications have long been debated. For instance, Operation Mockingbird, a covert CIA program, sought to control media narratives by infiltrating major news outlets and planting propaganda. This manipulation of information not only influenced public opinion during critical moments of the Cold War, but also raised concerns about the integrity of journalism and the role of free speech in a democracy. Another controversial PSYOPs initiative was the deployment of leaflets during the Korean and Vietnam Wars. These leaflets, often dropped en masse over enemy territory, contained propaganda aimed at demoralizing troops or encouraging defection. While such tactics were largely psychological, they also exposed the fine line between persuasion and coercion, as the messages sometimes exploited cultural fears or manipulated religious beliefs. The ethical boundaries of these actions remain a subject of intense debate, particularly when considering their long-term psychological impact on both enemy soldiers and civilians. The Cold War's shadow loomed large over Latin America, where the United States engaged in a series of covert operations to counter perceived communist threats. These interventions often involved supporting coups, funding paramilitary groups, and undermining democratically elected governments. One of the most infamous examples was Operation Condor, a coordinated campaign of political repression carried out by right-wing dictatorships in South America with the tacit approval and support of the United States. This operation led to widespread human rights abuses, including torture, forced disappearances, and extrajudicial killings. The U.S. role in the coup against Chilean President Salvador Allende in 1973 remains a particularly dark chapter. Declassified documents have revealed the extent of CIA involvement in destabilizing Allende's government and supporting General Augusto Pinochet's rise to power. Pinochet's regime was marked by brutal repression, and the complicity of U.S. intelligence agencies in these events has been a source of enduring controversy and shame. These actions, justified at the time as necessary to contain communism, have left a legacy of resentment and mistrust toward U.S. foreign policy in the region. In the post-9/11 era, the nature of war and secrecy has evolved dramatically. The global war on terror has not only reshaped military strategy, but also introduced new dimensions of conflict, including cyber warfare and mass surveillance. The revelations of whistleblowers, like Edward Snowden, brought to light the extent of the National Security Agency's (NSA) surveillance programs, which collected vast amounts of data from both domestic and international sources. While proponents argued that these programs were essential for national security, critics pointed to the erosion of privacy and civil liberties as unacceptable collateral damage. Cyber warfare has emerged as a potent tool for both state and non-state actors, with the United States often at the forefront of both offensive and defensive operations. One of the most notable examples is the Stuxnet worm, a sophisticated cyber weapon developed by the U.S. and Israel to target Iran's nuclear program. While Stuxnet successfully disrupted Iranian centrifuges, it also set a precedent for the use of cyber attacks as a legitimate form of warfare. The unintended spread of the worm to other networks raised concerns about the potential for collateral damage and the lack of international norms governing cyber conflict. Espionage continues to play a critical role in modern warfare, with intelligence agencies leveraging cutting-edge technology to gather information and conduct covert operations. However, some cases remain shrouded in mystery, fueling speculation and intrigue. The unexplained deaths of intelligence operatives, such as Gareth Williams, a British spy found dead in a locked bag in 2010, raise questions about the dangers and secrecy of the intelligence world. While the official investigation concluded that his death was likely accidental, many believe it was linked to his work, highlighting the murky and perilous nature of espionage. In recent years, incidents like the Havana Syndrome, in which U.S. diplomats and intelligence officers have reported mysterious illnesses and neurological symptoms, have further deepened the intrigue surrounding modern intelligence work. While theories range from directed energy weapons to mass psychogenic illness, no definitive explanation has emerged, leaving the incident as one of the most perplexing and controversial mysteries in contemporary history. The enduring legacy of America's dark wartime secrets is not confined to the realms of policy and history. It has permeated the cultural consciousness as well. Films, literature, and art have often grappled with the themes of deception, betrayal, and the moral complexities of war. From movies like Apocalypse Now and Zero Dark 30 to novels like Tim O'Brien's The Things They Carried, these works explore the psychological and ethical toll of conflict, offering insights into the human cost of secrecy and violence. Ethical reflections on these secrets have also spurred important debates about accountability and transparency in government and military operations. The establishment of oversight mechanisms, such as congressional committees and independent investigations, has been a direct response to past abuses. While these measures have improved accountability, the tension between security and transparency remains a constant challenge. As the world faces new and evolving threats, from climate change to artificial intelligence, the lessons of America's wartime secrets remain profoundly relevant. The need for ethical leadership, rigorous oversight, and a commitment to transparency is greater than ever. By confronting the darker chapters of its history, the United States has the opportunity to learn from its mistakes and build a future that prioritizes justice, accountability, and the rule of law. The story of America's dark wartime secrets is ultimately a testament to the resilience of truth and the enduring quest for understanding. It reminds us that even in the face of deception and betrayal, the pursuit of justice and transparency can illuminate the darkest corners of history. As we continue to uncover these secrets, we must strive to ensure that the lessons they teach us are never forgotten.